Time. We measure it, we schedule it, we feel like we never have enough of it. But let's be real. Time isn't as straightforward as the ticking clock on your wall makes it seem. Have you ever wondered why the days drag on when you're bored, but whole years disappear when you're busy? Today, let's take a deep dive into why time plays tricks on our minds, and probably you'll never look at time the same way again. When you were a kid, summers seemed to last forever. Each day felt like a lifetime. Now they come and go in what feels like the blink of an eye. Why? It's all about how your brain perceives the passing of time. When you're young, every year is a big slice of your life. A year when you're 5 is 20% of your whole existence. But when you're 50, a single year is just 2% of everything you've experienced. This shrinking time is why so many of us say, "Where did the time go?" And here's something wild. When researchers asked people of different ages to estimate 3 minutes, older participants consistently thought less time had passed than younger ones. As we age, we speed up internally. But let's flip this for a second. Not every experience speeds by. Think back to a scary moment, a near car accident, or public speaking disaster. Time crawled, didn't it? Your heart raced, your senses went on high alert, and every second felt like 10. This isn't just your imagination, it's biology. Your brain kicks into fight or flight mode, recording every detail in high definition. Neuroscientist Dr. David Eagleman calls this time dilation. In those moments, your brain works overtime, trying to ensure you don't miss anything crucial for survival. It's like a built-in slow-motion camera. But what's fascinating is that this heightened focus makes time feel longer while it's happening. However, once the moment passes, it's often remembered as a blur, just a few seconds in memory. The opposite happens when you're deeply immersed in something you love, a phenomenon known as the flow state. Picture a musician lost in their music or a writer completely absorbed in their story. Hours can feel like minutes. You're fully engaged and your sense of time fades away. Psychologist Mihaly Csikszentmihalyi studied this and found that people who regularly experience flow are happier and more productive. In fact, studies show that people in a flow state can be up to 500% more productive than those who aren't. But let's step away from flow for a second and look at something that hits a little too close to home. Boredom. When you're bored, minutes drag and every second feels heavy. There's a scientific reason for this too. When we're disengaged, our brains pay more attention to every tick of the clock. Researchers found that people waiting in line at a DMV perceived time as moving twice as slow compared to when they were doing something they enjoyed. Boredom amplifies time's weight, making it almost unbearable. Here's something even more surprising. Your emotional state can totally warp how you perceive time. Ever been in love? Those moments fly. But grief, anxiety, they stretch time painfully. Dopamine, the feel-good neurotransmitter, speeds up time perception, while cortisol, the stress hormone, slows everything down. A study conducted by the University of Minnesota found that the participants exposed to high-stress scenarios consistently felt that time moved 25% slower compared to those in neutral states. Emotions are like lenses, coloring every moment differently. And it doesn't end there. Routine plays a huge role. Think about your daily commute. Every turn, every stoplight, it's so familiar you barely notice it anymore. That's because routine compresses time in memory. Your brain sees no need to record every single day if they're all the same. But now think about a trip you took. A place you'd never been before, with new sights, sounds, and tastes. You probably remember every little detail, right? That's because your brain pays special attention to novelty. A study published in Nature Neuroscience revealed that new experiences are stamped more deeply into our memory, creating the illusion that time has stretched. So, if you want life to feel longer, break your routines. Seek out new experiences. This brings us to something even more interesting: cultural differences. In the West, we live by the clock. Every minute counts. But in other parts of the world, people see time differently. For some cultures, time flows in cycles, not lines. Events dictate time, not hours and minutes. And guess what? People who live by event time often report less anxiety. Harvard researchers found that cultures focused on event time rather than clock time experience 20% less daily stress. Imagine that, being less stressed, simply because you stop racing the clock. Have you ever waited for something exciting, like a holiday or a big event? Remember how slowly the days crawled? That's because anticipation changes your brain chemistry. Dopamine release during anticipation makes every day feel like it's dragging, but once the event arrives and passes, your brain compresses it into a single memory, making it feel like it flew by. This time paradox leaves us chasing moments, always feeling like we're waiting and then mourning how fast they went. Memory is perhaps the biggest culprit in this whole time trick. Think about your most vivid memories. They're dense, full of emotions and details. The richer the memory, the longer that period feels. But when life becomes routine, your brain skips the details. It doesn't bother recording every commute, every identical workday. As a result, when you look back, the months and years seem to blend together. The phenomenon has a name: memory compression. If you want time to slow down, fill it with rich, varied experiences. Novelty keeps your brain engaged and stretches time. And here's where things get really interesting. Your biological clock, known as the circadian rhythm, has a massive impact on how you feel time. Jet lag is a perfect example. When you cross time zones, your internal clock gets confused, making you feel out of sync. Researchers at the University of Surrey found that even minor disruptions to this rhythm can change how time is perceived. Your internal clock is like a metronome, guiding every second of your day. But mess with it, and everything feels off-kilter. Our brains can even trick us when we're moving. You can't tickle yourself because your brain predicts the exact sensation of self-touch, so it cancels it out. Similarly, when you move, your brain predicts the timing of your movements, subtly altering how you perceive time. The more predictable the movement, the less you notice time passing. It's all part of your brain's predictive nature, working constantly behind the scenes. There's another fascinating aspect: procrastination. We've all done it. But why does it happen? It turns out our brains often value immediate rewards over future ones. This is known as temporal discounting. Researchers from Harvard found that people would often choose a smaller, immediate reward over a larger, delayed one because their perception of the future is warped. It's not laziness, it's the brain prioritizing instant gratification over distant goals. So the next time you find yourself putting something off, remember, it's not just about willpower. Your perception of time plays a huge role. Meditation and mindfulness offer a glimpse into how we can control our perception of time. Have you ever tried being fully present in the moment? For people who practice meditation, moments stretch and become richer. Scientists at the University of California found that mindfulness increases awareness of the present moment, making time feel fuller and longer. It's a reminder that we can sometimes slow down our sense of time just by paying attention. But perhaps the strangest part about time is how we think about the future and the past. Your brain can transport you forward and backward in an instant, changing your perception of the present. This mental time travel shapes our hopes, regrets, and even how we set goals. The ability to reflect on the past and plan for the future is uniquely human, but it comes with a cost. Our present moments often feel like they're slipping away. Time is a mysterious thing. It moves differently for all of us, shaped by our memories, routines, emotions, and even our biological clocks. But one thing is clear: we have more power over it than we think. By seeking new experiences, staying present, and breaking out of routines, we can make life feel richer and longer. I hope this journey through the mysteries of time has made you think differently about every moment you live. If you enjoyed this exploration, please subscribe to Universal Insights for more content on life's deepest mysteries. Share this with someone who needs to slow down and appreciate every passing second. And tell me in the comments, how does time feel for you? Are you racing against it or learning to make it last? I'd love to hear your thoughts.